I wanted to ask people in the chat. Obviously, this case has not, the investigation has not been completed yet. I want to know, how important is it that someone be held accountable for this if they can establish probable cause that someone provided these tainted drugs, which resulted in the deaths of 3 innocent people? If you think that's super, super important, put a 1 in the chat. If you think that these guys died because they made a bad decision and they're masters of their own destiny, and this decision is what caused their death, not the fact that someone should be held responsible. Well, if you think that part 2, put a 2 in the chat. I'm just curious to know, because I know Mike and I discussed that if this was someone in our family, we would absolutely want to get to the bottom of this and to know what occurred here and hold someone responsible. Because even though, I guess, Mike, in the law vernacular, it would be called strict liability, right?
Right.
Would that be accurate? You would say this is strict liability, whether everyone here was partying and partaking in the same drugs. I want to strictly hold someone liable to what occurred here, and the outcome to this was horrific. So I want to hold someone accountable for this, and that's, I think I would want that. I think, Mike.
Yeah, I think so too. And for just to make sure that people in the audience know, crime, 99% of all crime has 2 parts: a mental state, like the intent, and then the action, the actus reus. As what Bill's referring to is strict liability crimes, where it doesn't matter what you were thinking. If you took the actions, therefore you would then be held strictly liable no matter what you were thinking. There's very few crimes like that. And so what Bill's saying is that if Mr. Willis just Mr. Willis, we'll just use him for example, supplied the narcotics, it didn't matter what he was thinking at all. If he gave the narcotics to them and offered it to them, that would be, could be, if you're going to hold him liable under those circumstances, it'd be holding him strictly liable. So, because therefore, if he took the actions of making the narcotics available at his party, it didn't matter whether he loved everybody, he hated everybody. It didn't matter what he was thinking. He's going to be held strictly liable because the mental state wouldn't matter. And so I would want that for my brother if he was at that party, even though my brother is 35, 36, 37 years old, like these gentlemen are. I don't blame the family would want that. Say, look, hold him liable no matter what. That's absolutely a normal, emotional reaction to this. Everybody would want that, I think, for their family member.
Absolutely. Pin needle protagonist. This is from the chat. I think it is important for the Kansas City Police Department to investigate this case as to it leading to the fentanyl distribution. But these guys did the drugs willingly. No one to blame here. Well, that's your thoughts. I think otherwise, but I also think that people are masters of their own destiny and have free will, and they're definitely partially responsible for the outcome. Lisa Tyndall, whoever sold that drug should be held accountable. And that, if they can figure that out, if they can find out who sold that drug, who provided that drug, then absolutely, I believe that could happen. Taxi Slut 61, I know who my brother got his from, but he's not the one who put the fent in. Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of that is the risks of using drugs. The risk of using drugs is that A, they're illegal. B, are these people on the street have pharmaceutical degrees issued by the state that they're selling in? Absolutely not. So people are taking chances using street level drugs, and anything can happen to you when you use street level drugs. And now that we all know that fentanyl is being mixed with cocaine, being mixed in painkillers, prescription drug painkillers that, if you don't buy it from a pharmacist, buyer beware, So we know all of this. So we all are potential victims of this. and even if we're not using illicit drugs. And in this case, I just want to also mention, because we mentioned at the outset of this show that this is Super Bowl Sunday, and these three friends, they look like great guys. Any of us could be friends with these guys, it seems. And this was their team, the Kansas City Chiefs, that just so happened to be one of the teams in the Super Bowl today. And we want to say our prayers for the friends and families of Clayton McGeeney, Ricky Johnson, and David Harrington. And we hope that their families get justice. We sincerely hope that they rest in peace. And will someone be held accountable? The charge is imminent in the Kansas City 3 case. Who will be prosecuted? And that's the big question that we have. Mike, I think that even with not a lot brand new for us to report today, I think we did a pretty good, competent job of presenting what we know so far. And there was a good discussion here, including our chat, which was great. They offered some really great stuff in the chat today, and I appreciate that. Schmitty, thank you so much for the super sticker. Schmitty writes, thank you for your consistent common sense approach and following this. Much respect. Schmitty, thank you so much. And thank you always for following the Police Off the Cuff podcast. There's Schmitty there. Thank you for your consistent common sense approach and following us. Much respect. Something, guys, sometimes we do things, we take cases, and people disagree with our position, but that's fine. I'm not going to back off in taking a position and using my knowledge, my education, my experience to report what I feel. And even if it goes against many people in the chat, I'm still going to do what I think is right. And I think so would Professor Mike Geary. Mike, your final thoughts.
Bill, one of the things that we're good at is being very candid and telling it as we see it, and in this case, people might be very disappointed in how we feel about the possibility of someone being held criminally liable. We'd like to see someone held criminally liable if it does, in fact, look like they actually intentionally acted to hurt these individuals and ended up killing them. But, I think we also understand, and I hope that the people in the chat understand that, we're realists. If you're a cop, you got to be a realist about the criminal justice system. And we're realists. And if we know that it's possible that when all is said and done with this case, that maybe you have a charge for felony sale of narcotic and that's it, or maybe you have no charges whatsoever. And I think we should all be prepared for that instance, no matter that possible instance, no matter how passionate we feel about this. And when we talk about the Harrington and everyone, we're not blaming anyone for their actions, because we do believe that you make your own choices, and we don't ever want to throw any sort of shade about them. But we have to be realistic about what were the dynamics going on that evening. So I hope everyone really understands our point of view and what we're saying, even if you don't agree with it.
Very well said, Mike.